guys, of course you need a prostitute whose heart is so golden that she can convert people in one afternoon. God, fuck this play! Welcome to Brows Held High. Well, April the 23rd has come and gone, and I'm sure you all celebrated that day with all the pomp and... Oh, what's that? You don't celebrate April the 23rd? Well, you should, because that's the day internationally recognized as the day William Shakespeare was born.
William Shakespeare is, of course, the greatest writer in the English language. George Bernard Shaw accused his peers of bardolatry for worshipping him so much. About a century later, Harold Bloom suggested that there should actually be a religion surrounding the Bard of Avon.
And why not? His words are powerful enough to be quoted by absolutely everyone.
We have heard the chimes at midnight, Master of a cello.
Everyone.
In faith, I do not love thee with mine eyes.
Everyone.
On tempest that is never shaking, the start to every wandering barks.
And if you've lived during the late 20th to early 21st centuries, you're probably familiar with one of the most prolific Shakespeare quoters of our time, Kenneth Branagh.
Oh, Kenny Branagh, a fine slice of Northern Irish ham. A man so over the top you can never expect that there was ever a top in the first place.
As a director, he can get away with some of the most uncommon excesses. And as an actor, he's singularly able to put every ounce of emotion in a line, whether it deserves it or not.
Born in Belfast, trained by the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, his debut, Henry V, earned him Oscar nominations for both directing and acting the lead role, and from that spectacular debut, he went on to adapt 5 of Shakespeare's plays. They are, in order, Henry V, Much Ado About Nothing, Hamlet, Loves They Were Lost, and As You Like It. And yes, he was in Othello, but he didn't direct it, so I'm not counting it.
And since it's Shakespeare's day, I'm talking about them all. Oh boy. I won't do the usual play-by-play for these films because we've all been over Shakespeare since middle school and we all know the plays back and forth. But in case you need a refresher...
The King of all England's Henry V, and from all the French he got some jive, and after that burn he did contrive, for all other lands from them did ride, Benedict and Beatrice bitch a lot, but all other friends decide to plot, to get them together and tie them up. Don John screws it up, but he gets caught. Hamlet's dead, he's dead! The sun starts seeing red, so he tries to kill his uncle, but the whole thing gets all bungled, and he ends up killing everybody else instead. For couples all get crossed, but there's an awful cost when a war comes a-knocking and the world starts a-rocking, and so all their heart and loves, labor's lost. A duke usurps his bro, and then they flee to the forest of Arden. 2 girls go and dress up just like men, and I think this bit will come to an end.
A few general notes. With the exception of the history play, of course, Branagh really likes to move the play's setting up a few centuries, usually to the Romantic era to make it feel slightly more modern. Where it works and where it doesn't work will be addressed later. He also has a thing for colorblind casting. Sure, why not cast Denzel Washington as Keanu Reeves' brother? It's the same kind of honorable progressivism that would later piss off Odin-worshipping racists when he cast Idris Elba as Heimdall in Thor.
But hey, the more annoyed racists get, the happier all of us with brainstems are, right?
He's also a big fan of the long take, which I'm almost certain to point out as they come and make comparisons to the opening shot of Touch of Evil and all that.
And also as a director, he has something that most in Hollywood would give all of their cocaine to have. Clout.
Pretty much every movie of his can boast an all-star cast. Just look at his first film's lineup. Henry V had Derek Jacobi, Richard Briers, Judi Dench, Robbie Coltrane, Paul Scofield, Little Baby Batman, Ian Holm, Emma Thompson, well, she was his wife at the time, so she was easy to get a hold of, I suppose, and of course, Brian Blessed.
Or, as he's known to his fans, Brian Blessed!
Gordon's alive!
But sadly, he's generally much more restrained in these films. Oh, he's giant and jolly, but he has none of the campy bombast of his Blackadder days. But oh, let's just get to the film itself. There are some questionable choices, such as Derek Jacobi's chorus. Not that he doesn't deliver the lines beautifully.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention.
But it's still rather odd to see a guy in a dress coat walking around amidst all these 15th century shenanigans. Plus it's odd to refer to the soundstage he's on as a wooden O. But that's Shakespeare's own fault for including such a site-specific and self-deprecating introduction. I mean, he has a huge epic war story and he starts off the play by saying, sorry this place sucks so much, we did what we could, don't hate me. Plus, being a film pretty much negates the role of the chorus entirely. In a film you can shoot on location easily and you don't have to imagine things. While in Shakespeare's day, you had a uniform stage where the characters had to go, "So, we're in Burnham Wood, alright?" Sure is nice here in Burnham Wood. And all the audience could do was think,
Yep. Burnham Wood.
but that's a problem with any medium transfer, so I won't get hung up on it. Especially because it does a lot right. Yes, Branagh nails the Christmas Day speech, even if he does let the score speak for him at times. Just listen to this string section.
Whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day!
It's well performed, well shot, and sets the tone of the war perfectly. Unlike Olivier's version, made in 1944, when the English were quite happy to sing about the praises of going into Europe and showing the Continentals what for, Branagh's was made in 1989, when the British were reeling from the sad and pointless conflict in the Falklands. As such, the lead-up to war is treated with utmost severity, the battles shot with blood, fire, and mud. Mud in particular, and if you know anything about the Battle of Agincourt, you know how important the mud was in securing an English victory. And there's even plenty of gravity brought to the scene where Henry decides to hang a childhood friend for looting a town against his orders. And one of the most brilliant things Branagh decided to do, in my opinion, was to include flashbacks to Henry IV. The Henriad, as the plays about this dynasty have been called, are essential to fleshing out Henry of Monmouth. Shakespeare's audience would have been well aware of the character of Prince Hal, as he was called in Henry IV, and his character arc. Hal spent his youth fraternizing with rogues and ruffians, including one of Shakespeare's most famous characters, Sir John Falstaff, whom he befriends, but ultimately abandons.
Banish Plump Jack and banish all the world.
I do. I will.
But we have heard the chimes at midnight, Master Harry.
I know thee not, old man.
So it would have been devastating for Shakespeare's audience to see the scene where his old friends mourn Falstaff's departure. It would also have moved them to see the youthful Hal slowly turn from a roguish barfly into a chivalrous king. A chivalrous king who goes to war over tennis balls, kills old friends out of principle, and threatens to put babies on the end of his damn spears.
Your naked infants spitted upon pikes, whilst the mad mothers, with their howls confused, do break the clouds!
And another dead baby scene narrowly averted.
And since Branagh includes that angle, his Henry turns into something of a coming-of-age story, as well as a world-weary war film. And it is weary. As rousing as it is to hear the king tell the commoners that this day shall gentle their condition, when the battle's won, Henry doesn't lead a cheer, even if the lines pretty much ask him to.
And to England, then, where ne'er from France arrived more happy men.
And the real set piece of the film is not the battle itself, but its aftermath, with a great long take, and yes, I told you I would come to a long take, of the bloody Henry of Monmouth carrying the corpse of little baby Batman across the devastated field with that brilliant hymn by Patrick Doyle, ending with a goofy little romantic meet-cute scene between the dorky Welshman and the pretty French girl he has a crush on. The Bard has written much better endings.
Of course, that's not to say that Branagh and Thompson don't have good on-screen chemistry, which someone probably noticed, which is why in his next Shakespeare film, this is brought front and center.
And it's in Much Ado About Nothing that Branagh really starts showing his taste for the slightly silly. Sure, have your male characters fist pump the title into gear, and why not start the film with a scene of people bathing that's homoerotic twice over? And why not include scenes of you and your wife frolicking like you're in a commercial from Maxi Pads? But this is, after all, a comedy, so this is all par for the course. He's also rounded up another great cast. Richard Briers, of course, Brian Blessed, of course, Denzel Washington, Michael Keaton, Ben Elton, Robert Sean Leonard, pre-famed Kate Beckinsale, Keanu Reeves.
Huh. Well, they're marketable at least.
But the real star of the film, even more than Branagh, is Emma Thompson. She's always been a smart, witty performer, but it's in the role of Beatrice that she really shines. Her dry wit, her mastery of wordplay,
Well, you are a rare parrot teacher.
A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours.
her personal strength, her buried sadness.
But I beseech your grace, pardon me. I was born to speak all mirth and no matter.
Her bright eyes and the brains behind them, and oh my god, Emma, be my bride!
Oh, sorry, that's, it's not like me. I'll keep that to a minimum from now on.
But she really is the highlight of the whole film, and her banter with Branagh is easily worth the watch. Add to that the knowledge that you're watching a real-life couple who really did have this level of intellectual and personal meshing in real life, makes the banter crackle even stronger, even if they did divorce soon after. So yes, this film has something in common with Gigli. The rest of the cast is a mixed bag. Robert Sean Leonard as Claudio and Kate Beckinsale as Hero are pretty, but fairly forgettable characters. But that's kind of the point. The play hinges on getting this boring couple together as an engine to drive the far more interesting characters into more and more trouble instead of going back to Commedia dell'arte, so I can't fault the actors for being given stock characters. Denzel Washington, fresh off his triumph as Malcolm X, is strong and charming as Don Pedro. He's remarkably comfortable with Elizabethan prose and gives his character an affable strength, even if it wouldn't make sense for a man of African descent to rise to such a prominent position in 19th century Europe with all its imperialist, racist glory. But hey, he's a fine actor and I'm glad he's here. Another cast member who shines in this film is Michael Keaton as the clownish, dim-witted lawman Dogberry. There's something truly inspired about casting a veteran scene stealer like Keaton in the role.
Marry, sir, they have committed false report. Moreover, they have spoken untruths. Secondarily, they are slanders. Sixth and lastly, they belie the lady. Thirdly, they have verified unjust things. And to conclude, they are lying knaves.
Shakespeare wrote a great many fools in his works, and few are more foolish than Dogberry, and Keaton really delivers, pouring his Beetlejuiciest mannerisms into the mania of the role.
Masters, remember, a human ass. Though it be not written down, forget not that I am an ass.
And then, Keanu Reeves.
I had rather be a canker in a hedge than a rose in his grace.
What? What do you expect me to say?
I can give you intelligence of an intended marriage.
Will it serve for any mortal to build mischief on?
Keanu Reeves doing Shakespeare. You could probably write your own jokes about that.
It must not be denied, but I am a plain dealing villain.
But thankfully his Don John is generally put to the sidelines for most of it, so he doesn't hurt the proceedings as much as he could have.
I am not of many words.
And thank God for that. The film also looks great, with Branagh taking full advantage of the beautiful Tuscan setting. Tuscany, even though the play is set in Messina, Sicily, but whatever. And taking a cue from his last film, he ends it all with another long shot set to a song by Patrick Doyle, all blaring trumpets and hey nonny nonny. But for all those great spots, Much Ado About Nothing feels rather rote. The film often feels like it's pandering to middlebrow sensibilities with its pastoral, generally quaint stylings, though there is monstrous wit being put into nothing of great importance. It's not great Shakespeare, but it's damn good Shakespeare. And really, that's all it needs to be. It's a comedy, and comedy has to be accessible, relatable, and fun. And that's why I think it works.
Especially Emma Thompson.
After a few other films, namely that silly version of Frankenstein, Branagh scraped together all of his resources and begged Castle Rock Entertainment to put on his dream project.
To be or not to be.
The key word to Branagh's Hamlet is ambition, ambition, ambition. This film is infamous for being cinema's only full Hamlet. Previous versions trimmed and cut to fit a more cinematic pacing, but Branagh used a full, uncut text, taken for the first folio with additions from the second quarto. Everything in the text is on the screen. The result is a two-part, 4-hour monstrosity of a film that ought to serve as the platonic ideal of a labor of love. The sets are grand rococo, the costumes high romantic, the music the pompiest of pomp, with an aria from Placido Domingo no less, and the film shot in glorious 70mm, the last studio film to do so, I might add. And Kenneth Branagh, of course, plays Hamlet. Emphasis on ham, which makes sense. He is supposed to be playing a seemingly mad person.
Words. Words.
Words. And while his energy on screen is welcome, at times it can be misplaced, like in the mousetrap scene. Yes, actor, speak the speech trippingly on the tongue until I jump up on stage during a performance and yell at the audience! Or at the end when he kills Claudius. Oh, I have to poison him? Oh, that's boring. Eat chandelier, bitch! But as silly as he gets at points, it really does make him a fun and engaging presence in the film. I still think there are no duller Hamlets than perpetually melancholy ones.
It's also in Hamlet that Branagh's ability to snag big-name players reaches its absurd pinnacle.
I won't bother listing how many big names are in this one. Just be assured that both Richard Briers and Brian Blessed are here. But it's a damn impressive cast. So impressive that you get the feeling that Branagh was straining to cram people in.
Hey! Robin Williams wants a part!
Oh, but we gave the Gravedigger to Billy Crystal. Give him fucking Osric.
Hey! We owe French national treasure Gerard Depardieu a favor!
Oh, right! We still have to cast the guy who gets sent to Paris to see what Laertes is doing.
Hey, Sir John Gielgud and Dame Judi Dench want in!
We ran out of roles. Oh, wait, you know when the player king gives that speech about Hecuba and Priam? We can have them act that shit out!
Sure. Wait, who do we cast as the player king again?
Can't we get a better actor? I know it's a small part, but I think we can do better than this.
Out! Out, thou strumpet fortune! All you gods in general all winds speechless, and the old billow as hush as death. The instant burst of clamor that she made, unless things mortal move them not at all, would have made milch the burning eyes of heaven, and passion in the gods.
Thank you.
But the upside of this is that each line is given a certain gravity when even the most minor characters are given great actors to play them. You really pay attention to the old dotty Captain of the Guard Marcellus when he's played by Jack Lemmon.
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
And you really pay attention when the guy with one line who pops in 3 minutes before the end to deliver a single piece of exposition is played by Sir Richard Attenborough.
That Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
But I think the overinflation of the play's moments works to its advantage. It works when you make the play larger than life. One of the things most previous Hamlets focused on was the story of Hamlet over the plot. The story, of course, is Hamlet's struggle with uncertainty when faced with the monumental challenge of revenge against the king and uncle. But with all the text left untouched, the plot of Hamlet really shines. There's a nation at stake. There's an invading army on the march. The court is riddled with intrigue and espionage. Deals are made, alliances shift.
It's not just a single college kid struggling to get over his depression. It's the West Wing.
Dustin has been the father of good news. Have I, my lord?
Leo, were you born at the age of 55?
I know that there's a dog.
And Branagh uses every trick in the cinematic book to fully realize the world of Hamlet. Not just the words being spoken, but every aspect of the offstage action is brought to life. We see Hamlet with his father alive. We see the young Hamlet born on Yorick's back. We see Fortinbras gathering his army while old Norway looks on. We see Hamlet wooing Ophelia. We see old Hamlet looking in Claudius's eyes as he dies, using the expansive nature of film to show things that the Elizabethan stage couldn't. Branagh's Hamlet is an epic in every sense of the word. It's a very rewarding film, if you're patient enough to sit through all 4 hours. It's a living, breathing film which realizes every aspect of Shakespeare's tale, and despite the occasional forays into the silly, as far as I'm concerned, it's almost impossible to top.
Then something happened. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was Wild Wild West, I don't know.
But whatever happened, in 1999, Branagh formed the Shakespeare Film Company. As you would guess, it was to be a studio that devoted itself to daring and innovative adaptations of Shakespeare's works. And the following year, he did make a daring and innovative screen adaptation, Love's Labour's Lost.
His hair, and when love speaks, the voice of all the gods make heaven drowsy with the harmony. Heaven. I'm in heaven. And my heart beats so.
And there it is.
Heaven. I'm in heaven.
It's a goddamn jukebox musical. He took a Shakespearean comedy and stuffed it full of Gershwin, Porter, and Berlin. Supposedly, Branagh was influenced by Harley Granville Barker's essay on Love's Labour Lost, suggesting that the rhyme scheme of the play gave it a musical sense of rhythm. Ergo, he made it a Hollywood musical. Okay, fine, but he doesn't use the play's language for the music. He takes the play and injects musical numbers into it. He's using the same technique as Mamma Mia. And it's jarring. It's so jarring. Try as you may, the language of Shakespeare and the language of Irving Berlin don't mesh well. It's about as jarring as performing Glengarry Glen Ross like this.
Where did you learn your trade, you stupid fucking cunt, you idiot? Whoever told you that you could work with men? Oh, I'm gonna have your job, shithead. I am the captain of the Pinafore, and a right good captain too!
What's more, the language of Shakespeare, that musically structured language that inspired him to make the play a musical in the first place, is pared back to almost nothing. While his completist approach to Hamlet worked epic wonders, he took the complete opposite approach to this film, cutting back huge chunks of the play to merely a fraction of the original script, and all to make room for things like this.
So tell me, why should it be true that I get a kick out of you?
You can also tell that Branagh's losing some of that old clout. In contrast to Hamlet's star-stuffing, Love's Labour Lost has Branagh himself, Richard Briers, of course, Nathan Lane, Timothy Spall, Miss Marple, Alicia Silverstone, that guy from Bone Kickers, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. I mean, it's sad. Not even Brian Blessed could show up. Maybe he was off climbing Everest at this point, I don't know. But this film as a whole is full of bizarre ideas. I already showed you the shot of them flying up to the ceiling, for one. Also, the choice to set the play on the eve of the Second World War makes a lot of thematic sense. In the play, it's a frivolous peacetime comedy until everyone gets suddenly swept up by a war, so it makes sense. Until you realize that Shakespeare set the play in Navarre, which is in Spain. And if there was any place in Europe that was a model for peace in the late 1930s, it sure as hell wasn't Spain!
And for all of Branagh's talk about the language of the play, he does some really weird things with it.
This love is as mad as Ajax. It kills sheep.
It kills sheep.
The reviews for this film were mixed to bad. Its defenders thought it was quaint and offensive enough to warrant a look, but most critics panned it for being the bizarre failure of an idea that it was. It didn't bring the Shakespeare Film Company to its knees. Not quite. 6 years later, the same company, in conjunction with HBO Films, released their second, and to date the last of their adaptations. As You Like It, a pastoral comedy which is known less for its story and more for a single speech.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players.
Instead of making a gimmick out of being a musical, Branagh made a gimmick out of something entirely different. He set the play in Japan.
He set it in Japan. And why not? Worked for Kurosawa.
The cast is fine. Richard Briers is back, as is Brian Blessed, but Branagh himself chose not to step in front of the camera this time. The biggest names besides Briers and Blessed are Kevin Kline and Alfred Molina with Eraserhead hair, and there are good turns by Adrian Lester, Danielle Yellowo, and our leading lady, Bryce Dallas Howard, who is actually quite talented and charming when she's not being shoehorned into Spider-Man films as superfluous fanboy pandering. But this is something that annoys me. I'm usually fine with Branagh's colorblind casting, but here it bugs me, and I'm not talking about having an interracial couple in the lead in a historical setting when no one would have let that fly. Daniel Yellowo is a damn fine leading man, and he and Howard work well together. No, I'm talking about the cast as a whole. Here's my problem.
He set the film in Japan, and none of the main actors are Japanese.
Sure, Branagh explains it at the beginning, saying that English merchants set up expatriate communities in Meiji, Japan, and I suppose it doesn't hurt thematically to move the Forest of Arden from France to Japan. It makes just as much sense to be attacked by a French lioness as it does to be attacked by a Japanese one.
William Shakespeare. Brilliant writer, shitty geographer.
But if he wanted to go with a Japanese setting, then why deprive some actor of Asian descent from a chance to put Shakespeare on his resume? You're saying this guy can't spin a sonnet? Come to think of it, if you didn't cast Japanese actors, why set it in Japan at all? The Forest of Arden in the play is meant to represent some kind of pastoral Arcadia, which could be any sylvan place of rest. It would make just as much sense to set the play in upstate New York, or rural India, or the Congo, or any place with a forest and a nearby city. So, why Japan? Was it to get Brian Blessed in samurai armor? Was it to turn the wrestling match in Act 1, Scene 2 into a sumo match?
Maybe Branagh just always wanted to film in Japan and take advantage of its natural beauty. Oh wait, I forgot. This was filmed in Surrey.
And it doesn't help that As You Like It just isn't one of the Bard's best plays. Even the title suggests that he's phoning it in. Well, as you like it. You want another damn sex romp in a forest? Here you go. I got this dark lady waiting for me at the pub. I'm out. Peace. And whatever comedy is there, Branagh doesn't really take advantage of it. Well sure, Alfred Molina milks some comedy out of his scenes, but the primary gender-bending setup of the core storyline isn't as comically exploited as it could be. Of course, in Shakespeare's day, having a man playing a woman playing a man was probably a lot funnier than just a woman playing a man. Plus, we're a lot less gullible nowadays.
I've heard him read many lectures against it, and I thank God I am not a woman.
You are a girl, and you're a girl with as much talent for disguise as a giraffe in dark glasses trying to get into a polar bears-only golf club.
And on the whole, the film's given a rather somber feel to it. Dull, in fact. It's all pretty and quaint and charming and lovely and well acted and well shot, and dull. Still, it's miles better than Love's Labour's Lost. Plenty of critics, at least in America, thought this movie was his return to form. And I can see why. At times, you can see Branagh trying to recapture the success of his earlier films. The final scene is reminiscent of the grand dance at the end of Much Ado About Nothing. And the final shot?
It is not the fashion to see the lady, the epilogue, but it is no more unhandsome than to see the lord.
An actor talking directly to the audience, showing the artificiality of the film while simultaneously honoring the practices of the Elizabethan stage. Which is precisely how he started Henry V.
Which seems to me like the perfect way to bring this retrospective full circle.
Well, he's had his pitfalls, his moments of hamminess, and the tendency towards the ridiculous, but I like Kenneth Branagh as director. Even in his bad moments, he's fearless, and his creative decisions are daring, and although they can be weird, they're almost never dull. But most of all, it's his love of the material that shines through, and it's his need to share that love that makes his adaptations of The Bard so open and accessible, generally.
Kenneth Branagh is nothing if not passionate, and that's why I keep coming back to him. And why I hope he'll return to Shakespeare very, very soon.
This drink, I like it. Another!
This is going on Facebook. Smile.
Very soon.
Rush up, you Shakespeare, and they'll all cow, cow.